Hello, welcome back, guys. We are back with a brand new chapter of our novel Obsession, chapter number 18. Let's begin. I shouldn't have asked for shopping. I really shouldn't have gone shopping wearing a sari. I played with the end of my sari nervously because of the attention I was getting. I always like to stay invisible in a group of people because their stares and unnecessary opinions made me nervous and uncomfortable. Maybe it's because every single person I've met in my life has somehow managed to make me doubt my looks, except Aina, and now him. Aina has always encouraged me to love my body the way it is because I'm healthy and beautiful. But I always hesitated. There was always something that would stop me from coming out of my shell. But this blue eyed man has made me feel beautiful. I wore this off white sari because I liked it, but somewhere in my mind, I was concerned about how the other people in the mansion would react. I was happy when Angelina and Aunt Ariana praised me. I know they were genuine. But this man here, he looks at me just like how I look at a beautiful painting or sculpture of Lord Shiv and Parvati. When he looks at me, his mesmerizing eyes are filled with many emotions: admiration, devotion, and most prominently, obsession. The intensity reflected in those blue eyes scared me because it was clear that he would do anything for his obsession, anything for me. Indian clothes are my comfort clothes. Not that I have worn anything Western before, but Desi clothes give me a homely vibe. That's why I choose to wear a sari. But looking at all the stares I'm getting, I think it was indeed a bad idea. What is it, darling? The deep and velvety voice said from beside me, making me jump in surprise. It's always him, either making me nervous with his intense gaze or startling me with his sudden presence. I turned to my left side and glared at the man who was looking at me with concerned eyes. I hate the fact that his eyes are so expressive and they carry an abundant amount of truth in them. Nothing, I replied and continued to nudge my sari between my fingers. But a big hand on my hand stopped my actions. Big, veiny, and tattooed hand. I looked up and found those blue eyes looking at me with so much intensity. Don't be nervous, tesoro. I am with you, he whispered closely so that I could hear. His voice and touch made my body tingle with an unknown emotion. My heart shouldn't have fluttered the way it did after hearing his words. I didn't reply and looked at his large palm, which covered both my hands. My hands weren't small, but his were big, just like how his whole body was. He freed my hands from the sari and took hold of my left palm inside his big one. His hands were warm compared to my cold ones. It was big and exactly the opposite of my skin color, but it felt weirdly good. A little bit of his tattoo was speaking from inside the black sleeves of his jacket, making it visible to me, which only intrigued me to see more. But I didn't get more time to think about it as my face was turned towards his as he pulled me closer with his other hand under my chin. My body was on fire. His touch was making me feel hot everywhere. I hate to admit this, but my body likes his touch and it reacts to his touch in a way it shouldn't, considering our circumstances and relationship. Don't worry about other people, darling. Let's enjoy our date, okay? He said, and I stood there like an idiot, hypnotized by his magical eyes. I know he could see the way my skin turned red under his touch, by the way his lips curled up in a devilish smirk. This is not a date, I said, while coming out of the trance and trying to wiggle my hand from his hold, which was obviously unsuccessful considering the determination with which he was holding my hands. Don't tire yourself, darling. It's not going to work. And this is a date. Even if the place is not suitable for a first date, your presence makes up for the rest. So don't worry about anything else and enjoy our date, he said, and I huffed as he started walking while holding my hand tightly. Not too tight to hurt me, but tight enough for me to feel tingles under his touch. We were currently at a supermarket or a mall, I think, considering how big it is, with an army of men in black following us behind. Wearing a sari in a western country was giving all attention I didn't want, but the men following behind didn't make it any better. Why are they following us everywhere? I asked, trying not to sound nervous about his hands holding mine. Safety, baby, safety. Don't look at them. Instead, look at your husband, he said, looking at me with a smirk, and then continued walking. I turned around to look at the men who were walking behind us without showing any emotion. They all lowered their gaze as they saw me looking at them. Weird. They were wearing all black today. They were tall, bulky, and very scary. But what made them scarier was the gun tucked inside their jackets. I shook my head at my thoughts and turned around to look for what I actually came for, and was amused to see that Lucas already had a trolley in his other hand, which gained more unnecessary attention from everyone present in the store. Everyone looked at us with shock. I don't know why, but they were looking as if they had been holding their breath for a long time. I shouldn't have come here, not with him. This is indeed a very bad idea. Leave my hand. I need to take things from the shelf, I said as we reached the aisle where the things I required were present. He looked at me, sighed, and then left my hand but didn't move away from me. He stayed glued to my side the whole time. I rechecked once again before turning to put back the chili powder on the rack as I had taken extra. As I looked behind me, my face morphed into a smile, seeing the cute expression this big man was making. He was looking at the package of chili powder with a scrunched nose. No, he was glaring at the chili powder as if they asked for his kidney. That sight was so adorable, seeing the grumpy and broody businessman making faces at a packet of chili powder. I noticed during breakfast that he only eats green leafy vegetables, which, according to me, is not a breakfast. And by the way, he is making faces at the chili powder. It's clear that he is someone who doesn't like spicy food. An evil idea popped into my mind at that thought. Let's see if you can really bear me or not, Mr. Lucas Ashwin. My real intention behind coming out was not to buy ingredients for food. My main reasons was to find a statue of Lord Shiva for me. I've been a strong believer in Mahadev for as long as I can remember. I've been an introvert and I don't feel comfortable speaking to anyone other than Aina, not even to my parents. But I always share my happy moments, sadness, and everything with Mahadev. It was like he has been listening to me all the time. After losing the Rudraksh pendant, which was like a shield to me, I feel lost in this world. I feel like I am alone, even though the pair of blue eyes follows me everywhere. So I needed to buy a statue of Mahadev or a Shivling to make me feel less lonely. But even after searching so many idols, I couldn't find anything. Are you searching for something particular, darling? Lucas asked while stroking my palm with his fingers. He had again taken hold of my hand. Tingles erupted through the area where our skin made contact. I I want a statue of Lord Shiva. I hesitated before telling him what I needed. He looked at me curiously for some time, as if studying my face, before saying, Ah, that's not here. Let's go back home. Even though it shouldn't have hurt me, it still hurts my stupid heart. He took my hand and then started walking toward the car with an army of guards following behind with grocery bags. If I thought that I could get rid of this man after the grocery shopping, then I was wrong. It was about noon when we returned to the mansion, and he is still stuck to me like a chewing gum. Currently, I'm standing in the kitchen, cutting the vegetables for my rice while trying not to get distracted by the man sitting on the kitchen slab. When I said I wanted to eat something I made, I meant it. Who can eat pasta, toast, and steak all the day? I want to have a proper meal with rice, roti, and sabji. When I asked Aunt Ariana for permission to enter the kitchen, she told me that it's my home and I can do whatever I want. This is surely a safe place for me, but I don't know if I can ever call it my home. The kitchen is very big and elegant, like everything else in the mansion. There were chefs preparing to cook when I first entered here, but as soon as they saw their boss, they left the kitchen in a hurry, leaving me alone with this man. After I finished cutting the vegetables, I decided to knead the dough for roti. So I took the end of my sari and tucked it at the side of my waist and then tied my hair into a loose bun. After getting ready, I started to knead the dough, all the time feeling his gaze on my body. It's hard to ignore his presence whenever he is close to me. And him sitting on the slab and looking at me like a creep didn't help my situation. Don't you have anything else to do? I asked, trying to hide my frustration with him. Or yourself? I'm doing what is important, he replied, still looking at me. Don't distract me, I said, this time not masking my irritation. So you admit that I distract you, he whispered in my ear, making me jump in surprise and hit my back against his front. He held me by placing his hands on my waist from behind. I immediately removed his hands from my waist and turned to glare at him. Stop trying to scare me every time with your presence, I said, still glaring at him, to which he just chuckled. The audacity of this man. Okay, not sorry, but let me help you, he said between chuckles, and I narrowed my eyes at him in suspicion. And suddenly, as if my mind was possessed by Aina's soul, an idea popped up in my mind. You want to help me? I asked, and he nodded his head in agreement. Then help me make the roti, I said. Of course, I'll help you, but what is that? He asked curiously, and I smiled evilly in my head. I'll show you how to make one and you do the rest, I said, and took a small ball from the dough and started rolling it into a perfect round shape with the rolling pin I bought from the shop today. Here, make it like this, I said, showing the perfect dough I made. This is so simple, he said, while unbuttoning his jacket and draping it over the back of a chair. I looked at him as he rolled the sleeves of his black shirt up to his elbows, baring his big, veiny, and tattooed forearms to my eyes. I cleared my throat to divert my attention from his sinful hands. He took the rolling pin, grabbed the piece of dough, and started rolling. I couldn't stop myself from looking at his hands, which were covered with tattoos. His arm was adorned with complex tattoos, which I couldn't fully see from a distance, but I could make out a rose on the back of his hand. Imagine Lucas' big tattooed hand like this. Stop drooling over my hands, baby. These are all yours. You just have to ask, and they can do wonders for you, he said while stopping and turning to look at me with a teasing smirk. Shut up and do your job. Or this knife can also do many things to you, I replied while taking the knife from the fruit box. You are going to be the death for me, darling, he said, chuckling and mumbling the last line under his breath as he continued to make roti. In 10 minutes, I was done making the potato dish, and the rice was also cooked. So I went to check on the roti and found him making it with utmost concentration. I got closer to have a look and laughed at the sight. He turned towards me upon hearing my laugh, and I laughed more, but stopped after some time, noticing his smiling face. It was the most beautiful thing I had noticed about him. He had the most beautiful smile, and he had dimples too, but only on one side, which made him more handsome. Why are you smiling? I asked, composing myself, but he didn't reply and stared walking towards me with slow steps. I didn't take a step back and stayed there as if my legs were glued to the floor. Why are you coming closer? I asked, stuttering. Because you just laughed. Your laughter is the most beautiful melody I have heard. I swear to God and devil that I can die and kill for hearing your laughter again and again. He replied while bringing his one arm closer to my face and smearing the flour on my face, and I stood there enjoying his forbidden touch in a way I shouldn't.